Shiran, this has been over 2 years ago that we were in a call together. Well, a panel at the last occasion we met. How have you been?
I'm good. Pleasure to be here this morning. Yes, indeed, it was a long time ago. It seems like it was a different world back then, since what we're doing now. But
Exactly. So something has happened, right?
yeah, but I
Something
missed
on
you
global
anyway.
scale.
I missed this communication and conversation. So
Yeah. Me too. I had the opportunity a couple of weeks ago for the first time to go to a live event, and I really enjoyed it. It was obviously COVID safe tickets and everything, but I really enjoyed it. And
yeah,
you,
a lot of good things COVID did as well. We reduced a lot of flights, unnecessary flights and meetings, and made it more efficient and quick. But we also lost a lot of things, that the interactive touch, the ability to be around people and to
yeah,
create this relationship that it's difficult to create over Zoom, with all due respect to Zoom, right?
no, I agree. And that's also what you wrote your chapter about, was the impact from COVID on RegTech. So I'm probably going to deep dive a little bit more with you on all these topics. But for you, what did you see as the biggest change? If you would call the one and only biggest change, what would that be then?
Look, for us and our business, where our business is around electronic communication compliance, I think that this was the tipping point. It was an acceleration of understanding within the executive in the bank or in our potential customers, understanding with the regulators that things that they were discussing, they were putting in a regulation years back. Now they must take action. So it was something on the shelf. Yeah, you must do something for everyone, and now it become a must do. So this is what COVID did for us. It made everything very clear. All the adoption, let's call it the adoption for in the market, very clear, very sharp, that it need to be now. And for us, it's very good for the business, of course. It's like accelerated sales process. Again, we are selling to financial firms, so sales processes are slow by nature.
Yeah, long sales process.
However, it is in scale. It happens in scales, and it happens with multiple different size of banks, different industries as well. And it's fascinating what's happening. It's fascinating, the digital transformation that they are experiencing, that they are struggling with. And we as an enabler, at the end of the day, we are enabler for remote work, enabler for compliance individual to be able to do their work efficiently. Yeah, enabler for the regulator also, or for the compliance team to feel confident in front of the regulator. So we enable work, basically. That's how
you enable compliancy.
Yes.
It's even a little bit stronger, right, than saying it that way. You just mentioned the magic word, the regulator, and I agree that this whole move to digitalization that you saw, that transformation that some say, well, doubled in speed or even tripled in speed or even more. I also had the same feeling within the market. But now you mentioned the regulator. Did you feel that your relationship as a RegTech changed during COVID with the regulator? You just said with the banks, you feel that maturity level is then, and it's more of a burning platform, and there's more adaptation. But what about the regulator? Did you feel a difference there as well?
Not quite yet. Let's be very open here. I think that the regulators are in an understanding of what needs to be done. They are very public and very transparent about it with the firms. I believe that due to COVID, at least in the first month, there are multiple investigations that are taking place at the moment. But from a vendor perspective, it's still I would say a relationship that need to be developed. So I was writing an article about it like 2 or 3 years ago, that we are an ecosystem at the end of the day. We need to work together. It's the regulator and the vendors and the regulated firms. They all need to work together eventually towards the same goal, which is a more transparent and more and a safer, let's say safer and more. I don't like the regulation word, but a more less manipulated markets, right? At the end of the day, if we deal with market manipulation and transparency, then that's what all of us wants to achieve. And it needs to work together. So we are working much closer now with the regulated firms, with the banks, with the asset managers, with the brokers. But I would still seek and publicly asking the regulator to be more active in leadership, in leading this and working with us on that, because we can achieve much faster and much greater things together.
No, I totally agree with that statement, Shiran. And you're not the only one, because this seemed to be a recurring theme within the book. And therefore, I was happy that we had the Japanese government that also participated in the RegTech book. And they have written a white paper wherein they, as a government, plead for more interaction and an agile process of lawmaking. So to activate all the different players in the process, because they say the world has changed so drastically that it also requires new ways of thinking. Somehow a distributed trust amongst the players. And that's a discussion I had with some others as well.
Absolutely. Very good point. And there are, of course, some regulators that are there. They are going there. They are very innovative. They are specific teams that are looking into how they can better collaborate and how they can implement and how it can work. But as an industry, and as I'm looking on the wide and the big regulators, I think that we have way to go. At least I would like to go an extra step or an extra mile together with them.
Well, you could even envisage a world where the way we receive the regulations could be done in a much more efficient way. If you look at banking has moved from papers to SDP. Maybe it's time to do the same for regulation.
True. Well, and look, I believe that it will get there. Look, it will get there. The FCA, in the beginning of COVID, I'm talking about June, July, they went into a live, it was a webinar, and they said that they also struggled with COVID because all investigators and all their professionals were suddenly remote, that they needed to reestablish everything now in the cloud and start to and basically they were back to business there. So they are struggling as well as individuals, as employees, as companies. With the same challenges, and I believe they better understand now the risks, but also the challenges that the financial firms are struggling with.
Well, I was also wondering, Shiran, because you are with your company Shields, you're not in just one country. You have already started spreading, and I was wondering, did you feel that? And especially being in Israel, I mean, the world has been looking at Israel. You were one of the countries that was vaccinated the first. Did you see any difference in speed in terms of adaptation due to COVID in RegTech space? Or was it just an impression from being an outsider and being focused on one country that, yeah, you know what I mean, right? Did you see a difference?
I think that if there were differences, they were marginal. We see, if I look on Europe, which is the most diversified market, because you have the British one.
Oh, it's the one and only single European market, Shiran.
Yes, However, still, each country is operating separately in a
Absolutely.
different language. Still, if you look really beside the small pieces, they all been able to, some of them more quickly, some of them a little bit slower, but all of them have done it. It's a difference of several months. Still, it's nothing. Moving to cloud, we have, for example, as an example, right, for a tier one bank, something that you and I, we know we are veterans of the selling to banks and the fintech business, is something that requires committees and steering committees and a pilot and a lot of other things. This kind of things happens now almost in 90-something% of the opportunities that we are dealing with, which is absolutely amazing for them, for the total cost of ownership, for the speed of implementation. And you know what? For the actual business and the BCP plans and everything that they are doing. So this and by the way, before COVID, internally, because you need to take decision from the product, how much do you invest in cloud and how much you are still in the on-prem thing. And we, by the way, we took a decision from day one that we are building a cloud ready and a cloud first approach in our deployment. But we forecasted that it will take something like 5, 6, 7 years for the cloud to properly smooth into the fields. And then you saw in a year, that's the standard now. It's amazing. And they can decide that they are doing it with their own tenants, which is still, they just paid for it, and they vetted it. But still, it became the standard. And this, only one example, WhatsApp. WhatsApp was always there, by the way, social media discussions, right? As a means of communication. It was always a discussion, and we saw some American firms are adopting it and allowing their employees to do that. And then they, of course, implemented tools to monitor it. Nowadays, we are getting it again from 50-something% of the prospects. They are keen to learn and to understand because that's something that they are going to implement. By the way, as a mean for disaster recovery. If something happens with their Bloomberg terminal or with their other ways of communication that suddenly they cannot rely on, or they can rely, but they need an alternative in case something chaotic happens like COVID.
Yeah. Which has been the black swan, right? Nobody expected it.
Yeah, and you know what? Global warming and everything, who knows what will happen? Some sort of a flood or some things are happening more also in the geopolitics approach. It's happening more accelerated. So by all means, and everyone are talking about it, but the major thing that COVID made is the acceleration of things, because everyone understands that they need to be in the future in terms of adaptation and all things. But the nature of things is that it takes time, and it's okay that it takes time, because we have been. Someone told me, Shiran, we have been here for more than 150 years as a bank. We have contracts on paper that are 100 years old. It takes time here. We do it slowly. Okay. Now this forces them not to do things slowly, because otherwise they will be out of business, or they will lose money, or both. So that was the major change that impacted everything else, of course, right? Work from home. Work from home is a completely different topic, right? In compliance perspective, just so that we can talk about.
Yeah, I think working from home for you, as what you provide as services for a company, this was also a blessing in the sky, because it helps you that information and compliance rules and regulations are more readily available when you're at home, right? Do I see that right?
Yeah, you see that absolutely right. The let's say that the surveillance or the monitoring, let's leave aside the word surveillance because it has military connotation.
Yeah.
But let's talk about enabling compliance or enabling normal, monitored, and let's say clean environment of war in the trade floor. That's something that, you know, when you are on the floor, in the trading floor, in the city of London, or wherever you are located, it's the environment. The environment has supervisors and things are happening there that it's easy to monitor. It's easy. Still, they need tools there as well. But when you're remote, it's becoming a little bit more, let's say, flexible. Things are a little bit more flexible. Compliance officer suddenly don't have any way to see what everyone else are doing. They cannot look. They cannot walk the floor. No one is seeing them. And the trader, and I'm not saying that the traders are wrong. Most of the traders, 99.9% of them are decent human beings. But I'm a person as well. When I have the chance, and if I'm under stress or if I want to gain something, I have the ability to cut corners. It doesn't necessarily mean that I've done a crime or I've done something wrong. But I'm cutting corners from what I need to do, right? Or what it's written in my in my employment manifest, and I think more and more of these things happened during COVID, and still happens, right? But everyone understands that it needs to be, scoped, and it needs to be properly monitored.
I really like, I always did, and I will always do the way that you present things, and it makes people think, and it also makes me think. And I came just to a conclusion in my head, because yes, you're right. What COVID did was, it was taking the non-verbal equation of compliance out of the business. The fact that you are walking the floor, and I agree with you. I've been first line before in my life, and I remember that my second line, my compliance was always saying, I learn the most by walking the floor, because then I see behaviors, I see reactions, I see emotions, and this gives me a large clue of what's happening.
You hear things. People are coming and speaking with you. There are coffee breaks. A lot of things happens when you walk the floor. And there is a stop and start to the day. So, and there is a saying that we cannot say and record it. You don't do certain things where you work, right? So you cannot.
Yeah, it kind of made it more
allow
vague.
yourself a little bit more relaxed environment when you are away. But don't get me wrong. Manipulation and market manipulation and colluding and spoofing happened before COVID. In electronic communication, big time as well, right? Like the labor rigging and the forex rigging, and a lot of it happens before, big time. Now it can be bigger and everywhere. That's the directive. So just there are tools today that allows the compliance individual or compliance professional to do the work efficiently, and to allow transparency, and to also enable business to suddenly record all means of communication, and allow them the flexibility of starting to do that ASAP, right? You want to use Zoom?
Anywhere, everywhere,
Go for it, everywhere. It's recorded, it's being dealt with, right? Go ahead, do your business, right? Forget about it, right? Remember the rules, but forget about that. You want to do business with WhatsApp? Fine, I'm allowing this under this and this and this rule, go. Business enabler, right? Because the job, the bank, the job of the traders and the bank is to do business. That's what they need to do, and our job is to enable it. And of course, we want to do it with an efficient way to reduce the noise. To everyone are talking about AI these days, right? AI everywhere, machine learning. So yeah, everyone will say that they are using AI, which is perfect, right? But within compliance, AI is not enough. It's a magic word that will get you into the second meeting, maybe the third meeting. But then the tricky point comes. How can I prove it to the regulator?
Yes.
I need to show everything. How can I do that, right? That's the difference with RegTech, right? It cannot be just magic. You need to prove the magic. And
of course,
And you cannot just say, yeah, it was the black box. It came out and said, yeah, it gave me a score of 80 in front running, and that's why. You need to really break it down to the bits and bytes, and to be able to prove internally, and if needed to externally to the regulator, why something that you're doing is the right thing, and why this alert has been processed properly, and why your monitoring solution is doing things in scale, consistently, and according to the rules. That's something that is called transparency. So it's a concept of transparent AI that you must consider in a RegTech solution.
Yeah, because it's actually adapting to the current model. No, I like to challenge the model, but I'm looking at time. We may have to do that in another call. And I know we're both passionate about it, but I somehow think that there is also a level of challenging, because yes, you find a clustered block of information that gives you a high suspicion to any type of fraud. But if you would consider the same data set, which is potentially a lot larger at the level of the supervisor, because they have been asking the data since the crisis, if they would use the same tool, make RegTech subtech, they would probably unravel the clustered information. And then you could wonder, as an industry, what is our responsibility? Is it to fight crime, or is it to prove a right within one organization?
So here you're talking about what we were just starting the discussion, how the regulator can actually be a player, not just to be sitting from the outside and shoot fines or shoot warnings, right? Yes. How you can really be a supervisor, and you're absolutely right.
But it's not the reality. I agree with you. It's not the reality. Therefore,
we have several years until something like that will take place and shape. Hopefully, I will still be in the industry by then.
Exactly. Hopefully, we're still around when this happens. Shiran, maybe as a last point, why should people contact you? Why should they come to Shield?
So first of all, just to set the scene, we at Shield are developed a platform, or what we are delivering is a platform in the area of workplace intelligence in compliance, where we aim to detect behaviors and anomalies in internal and external communication. What's unique about us and what we do is we handle the full stack of electronic communication compliance challenges. Everything from the generation of the electronic communication, the capturing, the data management aspect, which is huge, it's big. It's a little bit not sexy to deal with data, but it's fundamental, the fundamentals of a good AI solution, right? And a good analytics. So we handle all of this all the way to the behavioral analysis, and provide everything we provide everything in the platform, as well as all the right supporting applications, case management, investigation capabilities, etc., etc. And I think that what's surfacing us here in the industry is that we took a very I would say a certain approach in the beginning, right? We handle enterprises tier 2 or tier 1 and below. We our solution is a SaaS ready or a cloud first approach, and we have, I think, the most advanced technology stack currently in the market, which allows lots of flexibility that currently we see it implemented in the market. And the bottom line is that we're really actually helping firms to reduce the noise and to do their job with less headcounts, which is dramatic in the overall total cost of ownership that they are dealing with. Innovation, maturity of the solution, enterprise grade, the ability to provide peace of mind to the compliance team, to the IT team, to handle all sorts of electronic communications, social, enterprise, financial, audio, everything in one platform, and to provide really the ability for a firm to grow right? Currently, we're talking about trading floors, right, or capital market,
Mhm.
but very soon it will also be retail. So all of this are achievable with Shield because that's how the solution was built. It was, and again, uniquely, it was actually built properly. It was built properly as a platform.
That's great to hear. That's great to hear. And thank you for that short and powerful pitch. That's exactly what I wanted to hear. So I hope that also the audience will be triggered. And of course, they contact you to learn more about the platform and more about you. I would like to thank you so much, Shiran, for your contribution within the book, but also the nice conversation. And I truly hope that this time it won't take us a couple of years to speak again, because it's always
maybe to meet.
Maybe to meet. Oh, can you imagine that?
Who knows? Who knows?
Who knows?
This will happen.
I would like to. But thank you also to the listeners and those that were reading the book. It's great that there's not so many people that are passionate about RegTech. There's so much to do, and there's so much to be done. So yeah, please don't hesitate to like, share this video, but also to look within the channel, because there's other interviews like this one. So there's a lot of knowledge to be gathered. And apart from that, I'd like to wish you all a good day. Thank you very much.
Thank you.